welcome to Her Business, where we interview inspiring businesswomen and entrepreneurs. I'm Susie Daphnis. My guest today is Sharon Lechter, a lifelong education advocate and the founder of Pay Your Family First. Sharon is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, an educator, an international speaker, a CPA, and a mother. She has authored and co-authored a number of best-selling books. In this interview, we speak to her about Outwitting the Devil, which was written by Napoleon Hill in the 30s. It's a sequel to the successful Think and Grow Rich. Sharon has annotated this book, bringing its powerful lessons up to current times. In fact, it's more relevant now than when it was written. In this interview, we look at why victory goes to those who know what they want and are determined to get it. We look at how fear, worry, doubt, and indecision can get in the way of our success. And we look at what those who succeed know about having faith in themselves. Enjoy this interview with Sharon Lechter. Sharon, hi, and welcome to Her Business.
Hello, Susie. I'm delighted to be with you today.
Congratulations on the release of Outwitting the Devil. We're very excited to have you here on the program to tell us a little bit about this phenomenal book, which has been a long time in the making.
Well, it's very exciting. I would tell you, it was such an honor, and I was so humbled. We were just about to release 3 Feet from Gold, which came out at the end of 2009, and the Napoleon Hill Foundation called me and said, "We have this manuscript that we're not quite sure what to do with," and they sent it to me. And it's been, I looked at it, it said, Outwitting the Devil. I'm not sure. This seems like a hot potato, and it had been hidden for 73 years.
It is quite a provocative title, and I do want to talk about that a little later on in today's interview. But tell us, that's a great lead-in for you to give us an overview of what the book is about and what the story is that unfolds.
Well, as I'm sure many of your listeners are aware of, Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich is certainly the foundational work of self-development and self-improvement around the world. And it came out in 1937, and over 100 million of them have been sold around the world in many, many languages. But most of us did not know until the following year, 1938, Napoleon Hill wrote the book Outwitting the Devil. And what it was, as we know, Think and Grow Rich was really the culmination of his life's work. Back in 1908, Andrew Carnegie, the richest man in the world at the time, charged Napoleon Hill with studying the principles of success. And I think that's the power of the book, because the messages in Think and Grow Rich came from many successful people and many people who consider themselves failures. And so the power of the concepts and the philosophy in Think and Grow Rich comes from the fact that it was like a thesis paper, a synthesis of success. And Napoleon Hill, when he released it in 1937, was very frustrated because he said, even though people will read Think and Grow Rich, people know what they're supposed to do to become successful, they still won't do it. And so he sat down and said, I'm going to write the sequel. And so Outwitting the Devil is actually the intended sequel to Think and Grow Rich. And it talks about those self-limiting beliefs, those things that stand in our way and prevent us from reaching our full potential.
One of the things that happens very early in the book is that the author goes through very difficult times and then discovers what he refers to as his other self. Can you tell us what this other self is and how that persona helps him discover his purpose?
Well, I think all of us can relate to times in our lives when we were on a roller coaster, the height of success and then the depths of despair of what we consider failures or setbacks. And that's really Napoleon Hill in the beginning of the book Outwitting the Devil shares his own ups and downs, and he endears himself to us as the readers. I mean, I've studied him all my life and didn't know the things that he shares in Outwitting the Devil, that he had moments of great despair and feeling like he was a great failure. And he had an epiphany one night, and it was really the discovery of his other self. And that other self, if you imagine, we've all seen the cartoons where the devil's on one shoulder and the angel's on the other. That inner voice, sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative, but the true other self is that positive influence that helps you get through life and gives you that faith and confidence to persevere when the going gets tough. And it really is a defining difference between people who are successful and those who consider themselves failures.
One of the other personas that we're introduced to is that of the drifter. And that was one that I could see myself having been in many, many times. Can you explain some of the qualities of the drifter?
Well, it's almost comical because as you read through the different descriptions of a drifter, you start feeling like you're looking in a mirror at times. We've all been there when we're looking at our lives and we have things that we wish we had done differently, or he talks about a drifter as someone who's really does not have a definiteness of purpose. They don't know where they're going through life. They're going with the flow. We would use a common term. They easily influenced. They don't really have a mind of their own. He talks about things like that they be ill-tempered and lacking in control over their emotions, make the same mistake over and over again, never learning from the mistakes. Jack of all trades, but good at none. He talks about playing the role of victim, always blaming others. And certainly we can think about times in our own lives when we've used the victim card, or we know someone who acts as a victim all the time. The drifter begins many things but completes nothing. Eat too much and exercise too little. Oops, a few of us might relate to that one. And so the drifter is someone who really is not in control of their own life. And he talks about a drifter as someone who would tell a lie rather than and admit that they don't know something. And they will consider, they criticize others that they feel are more successful than they are. And this is a symptom. We've all had times in our lives when we can consider ourselves a victim. In one portion of the book, he talks about laziness plus indifference equals drifting. And procrastination is an element of a drifter. And it was like talking about waking me up, because I've often said that I just work better under pressure, and so that's why I procrastinate. But no, it's really laziness plus indifference. And so we all have to think about how we allow these traits to keep us from reaching our full potential.
And I might just point out, because, you're very successful and have achieved many amazing things. I know a lot of people who go into drifter, but that's not who they are. It's, I guess, more about identifying when you're in that place where you don't have a definiteness of your purpose. And I think that's what I identified. I didn't think, oh, that's me forever. But I could see times in my life where I was operating out of that.
Absolutely. And that is a great way to have a wake-up call when you realize that you are not in a non-drifter zone. There's a new Facebook label called the No Drifter Zone, and it's after this book, Outwitting the Devil. But we all have those times in our lives when we find ourselves off purpose. Many of our acronyms today really relate to things that are in the book when you talk about a drifter. If you are literally putting things off, not doing your to-do list, not getting those critical things done, you're drifting. You're literally off purpose. And all of us, you don't want to go to the gym, so you don't get up and get off and go. But once you're there, you're happy you did. And so are you on purpose in your life? And the non-drifter is someone who, when you're in the non-drifting state of mind, you are literally reaching your goal. You are focused and you are driven and you're doing all things. You're taking responsibility for your actions, and you can just feel the power coming from within when you are on purpose in the non-drifter.
When it comes to business, and most of our listeners are actually women in business, that one of the things that spoke very loudly to me was a quote where the author says, "Be definite in everything," and cites indecision as one of the lead causes of unhappiness, and something that shows up in those who fail to reach the goals that they set. Can you tell us a little bit about this idea of being definite in everything?
Absolutely. Today we say set a goal and achieve it and have a long-term plan, a business plan. And so in the book, it talks about having the definiteness of purpose is knowing where you want to go. But it also talks about having that flexibility to know that you need to correct course. If you're a sailor, you know that you don't necessarily go from one point to another. You have to tack and tack again, but you know what your end goal is. And I know growing up, my father used to say, a map is only good if you know where you are and where you want to go. And that's the whole purpose of understanding definiteness of purpose. You may have opportunities come up along the way to get you to your goal quicker. But if you don't know where you want to go and have a goal for you achieving in your business, then you are easily distracted and you can get off course much more easily because you don't have that plan and that definite of a goal. That goal is not only having the goal, but it's having the commitment to reach the goal.
The word that the author uses, which is what I think you're talking about there, is the word faith. And just like the title of The Devil isn't necessarily talking about a horned creature, with a pitchfork, neither when the author talks about faith is he talking necessarily in a religious sense. Can you tell us about faith and how it relates to what the author is trying to teach us?
Well, it really is a defining principle, Susie, when you come down to success. When you think of people that quit or give up and don't make that last step to success, as we talk about in 3 Feet from Gold, the book prior to Outwitting the Devil, the defining difference that we found when we went out and talked to many of successful people about how they got through their deep, dark moments was the fact that they had faith. They had a belief in themselves. They had a belief in their mission. They had a belief in their company. And they had a belief that they were doing the right thing. And one of the things, and we talk about the devil and outwitting the devil, it truly is. The last half of the book is an interrogation of the devil. So if you've seen the movie A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson on the witness stand, that's what the vision I have as I'm reading this book. The devil is being forced to give up his wiles. And one of the things he talks about is his chief tool is fear of poverty. But I think even more importantly in today's environment is that fear of criticism. And if you don't have faith in yourself and faith in your mission and faith in your goal, you're easily swayed by criticism of others. And you tend to get off purpose. So that faith allows you and gives you the courage. Faith in yourself gives you that courage to get through the tough times. It allows you to stay on purpose and have that definiteness of purpose to reach that ultimate goal.
The book talks a lot about how fear, worry, doubt, indecision work against us, but also tells us how much the ability to control our thoughts, our environment, can work for us. One of the terms that was new to me was that of hypnotic rhythm. Can you tell us what it is and how it can take control of us if we're not aware of it?
Hypnotic rhythm can be negative or positive. And so many of us think about if you start getting into a negative habit, it's harder to turn around. I mean, we've all read the books that say it takes 21 days to form a new habit. For me, it's more like 2 years. But the whole concept of forming a new habit is getting into the flow and the rhythm. But hypnotic rhythm actually adds to that. As we talk about this, Napoleon Hill in the book Outwitting the Devil gives you 7 steps to outwitting the devil, getting rid of negativity in your life. And hypnotic rhythm is the 6th one. And the first 5 working together actually help create hypnotic rhythm. And that is definiteness of purpose, knowing where you're going, and then that self-discipline, that ability to make yourself focus on the end goal, and then controlling your environment. We can all think of those times. If you just imagine going into a funeral, how you can feel the negative energy, the sadness in the room, and compare that to walking into somebody's birthday party where everybody's dancing and laughing. You feel the impact that those 2 environments have on you just sitting here thinking about it. And so if you can control the people that you hang out with and control the environments around you, you help speed your way to success. And then the other one is your time. How are you spending your time? Are you spending your time in exercising opportunities that move you toward your goal, or in areas that keep you away from reaching your goal? And so when you combine all of those things together, you create a positive force, and they work together to create rhythm. If you imagine you practice the violin and it doesn't sound too good for a while, but your 2nd and 3rd year, it starts sounding beautiful. And that's the concept of driving yourself to success. We've all heard the common phrase, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Well, one of the reasons the rich get richer is they learn how to do it. And then it's easier to keep doing it. So the element is to start training yourself in how to reach for success, and do it by controlling having a goal, controlling your environment, controlling how you're spending your time, having control over yourself. And all of it starts getting easier and easier to create success in your life.
One of the principles of success identified in that group is that of caution. And quite often we think of caution as beware, there's a level of fear of moving away from something. But the author talks about caution in a very different, almost positive way.
Yes, it's interesting because when you just use the word caution, it sounds kind of like a downer, and it's the 7th principle about Outwitting the Devil. But truly, I try to reframe it when you're reading the book and think about it. In the world that we live in today, certainly much more advanced technology and communication is much quicker than it was when he wrote this book in 1938. But the term caution is even more important today. We've all said something that we wish we could call back, or we've sent out an email, a text, a tweet that we wish we hadn't done. So that element of caution is really at that point of decision. Ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now going to help me get towards my goal? Or is it going to help the recipient get closer to their goal? And if the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, then don't do it. So it's all up to us every day with all of our actions to add value, to either move towards our own success or help someone else move toward their success. And that caution is that moment in time, the instant that you say, is this action a positive action or is it not? And allow that to be your driver.
One of the quotes towards the end of the book that I really enjoyed, I showed you, Sharon, for those listening, I showed Sharon a copy of my book before we started to record today. And I think there are more Post-it notes than there are pages in the book because I just kept highlighting and enjoyed it so much. But one of the quotes at the end that was highlighted and Post-it noted says, "Victory goes to the people who know what they want and are determined to have it." Could you speak to us about that?
And that's just another way to say they have definiteness of purpose and they have faith in themselves. And that's knowing what you want and being absolutely committed. That faith and commitment come together. Having the belief and the courage, but also having the commitment to reach your success.
Sharon, just as we wrap up, I do want to say, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Well, Susie, I've been involved in a lot of books, and I've been blessed to have been involved with many successful books, 17 to be exact. But I will tell you that this book is probably the most powerful tool that I've ever had in my life, and the most powerful book that I've been involved in. I can honestly tell you that with this book, I've lost 40 pounds, and because it allowed me to see what it was inside me that was holding me back from reaching my full potential. Also, the whole concept of when I got involved with the Napoleon Hill Foundation back in, 2007, they asked me, they said, it's so important with what's happening in the world economy to bring Napoleon Hill's philosophies back to the forefront. And our first book, 3 Feet from Goal, we started that. And our goal was really to get to those young people that are young people, listen to me, under 50. To make sure that many young people under the age of 40, 45 don't even know who Napoleon Hill is. And so one of the greatest gifts with this book, Outwitting the Devil, is it is hitting a chord with Gen Y, with the younger generation. They love it, maybe because it's a little profound, a little provocative, a little in your face. But that has been our goal, to bring back to the forefront the concepts of self-determination, creating your own destiny, being in your own driver's seat, being the CEO of your own life. And right now, so many people are paralyzed in fear with what's happened in the economy all around the globe. And if it's not your listener, it may be somebody that your listener knows, a friend, a partner, a husband, a wife, a child, somebody who just needs a little kick in the pants. this is the book that I've seen over and over again. The comments we get on it have just been incredible because people feel like it really is defining how to get rid of the negativity in our lives. And we could all benefit from getting rid of negativity.
The book is Outwitting the Devil, The Secret to Freedom and Success by Napoleon Hill, annotated by Sharon Lechter. Sharon, thank you. It's been a great pleasure, as always, to spend time with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Susie. You're fabulous, and I would invite everybody to visit outwittingthedevil.com. There's a secret chapter there that you can download as my gift. So I appreciate you very much, Susie, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Sharon Lechter. You can get your free copy of The Secret Chapter at outwittingthedevil.com. You can also follow Sharon at her website, sharonlechter.com, and on Twitter at Sharon Lechter. Ask for the book at your local bookstore. If you're ready to be connected to inspiring women who are making a difference to the business landscape, ask us today about our membership programs. And for more interviews with inspiring women, visit our website www.abn.org.au.